Today's topic is From Vision to Institution, Leading Change Through Structure, Innovation, and Sustainable Impact, which relates to the pillar of change leadership. Goodmorning BSN is organized by the BSN Impact Center for Great Leadership. The center is an initiative of Business School Netherlands, generously founded by the Culture Factor Group. The Impact Center for Leadership is a place where BSN alumni and other managers and leaders from companies and society meet each other to share insights and create new practical knowledge. You can also contact the Center for in-company programs to further grow your talent pools and teams within your own organizations. We are currently seeking sponsors and partners to support the work of the BSN Impact Center for Great Leadership. We welcome individuals and organizations who may be interested in sponsoring our programs and initiatives to reach out to us. Should you require more information about this, we will post the contact details after the session. Today's presenter is Princess Oghene, an entrepreneur, educator, and business strategist with over 19 years of experience in fashion, leadership development, and enterprise growth. She is the founder of a group and group managing director of GMYT Group Limited, overseeing business in fashion, education, humanitarian impact, events. She has empowered and trained over 12,000 women and youth with skills and entrepreneurial opportunities. An alumnus of the International Visitor Leadership Program, Harvard Business School, London College of Fashion, Lagos Business School, and Business School Netherlands. She brings a global perspective on leadership and business transformation. Princess is a multiple award-winning leader recognized for her contributions to women empowerment, education, and socioeconomic development across Africa. Our reflector today is Chinelo Obienyem, a senior people business partner at APM Terminals Nigeria with 14 years of experience in human resource across multiple industries. She specializes in talent management and workforce planning and organizational development, partnering with leadership to build high-performing, inclusive teams. Also an MBA graduate of Business School Netherlands, Chinelo is a full member of MPIMC, CIPM Nigeria, and associate member of Women in Management, Business and Public Service at WIMBIZ. Welcome to you both, and thank you very much for the time that you've afforded us this morning to share your experiences with the stakeholders of BSN. This is well appreciated. Some very heavy accolades there. We're very proud to both have you as BSN alumnus. And we're going to hand over to you now, Princess, to do your presentation and to share with the BSN alumni stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Juanita. Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be here. And today I'll be sharing how the principles of action learning and system thinking helped me transform from founder dependency to institutional sustainable processes in my organization. Many organizations fail not because of poor vision, but because vision is never institutionalized. World Bank 2024 shows that SMEs drive employment globally, yet scalability and sustainability remain major challenges. The session objective is that participants at the end of this session would understand institutional leadership, explore change leadership frameworks, learn practical scaling strategies, examine the GMYT case study, and finally, develop institution building action points. Why institutions matter. North 1920 explains that institutions reduce uncertainty and improve performance. Collins and Porter's 1994 went further to argue that organizations outlive founders through systems, values, and culture. GMYT identified the gap in structured fashion education entrepreneurship and went further to coalition of facilitators, administrators, and industry partners. We decided to drive our vision through empowering women and youth through entrepreneurship and skill development, and also communicated our vision through training programs, social media, campaigns, and community engagement. We removed barriers through SOPs, CBT systems, student portals, and reporting structure, and then went further to celebrate our quick wins through the student graduation, brand launches, scholarship, and success stories. And finally, sustained our momentum by expanding into media, awards, GMYT apartments, and business development platforms. One of the ways we addressed the challenges that we're having in our organization is by adopting system thinking. SEN 2006 explains that sustainable organizations function through interconnected systems. And we did or achieved this by introducing accountability systems, SOPs, documentation culture, and delegation structures. And in one view, you can see how, we introduce some templates that is helping us function seamlessly in our processes today. This is a sample of what our accountability structure is. Problem solving, identifying the root cause, the risks, basically just collating data. Now, the African SMA reality, SMIDAN 2026 reports that over 80% of SMEs in Nigeria fail within the first 5 years due to weak operational systems and poor continuity planning. And some of the current or common challenges are founder dependency, weak documentation culture, limited scalability systems, and inconsistent operational processes. Founder dependency traps and warning signs that we all ignore from time to time is every decision requires the founder before anything is done in the organization. Knowledge sits with individuals, especially key employees. Growth slows as complexity increases. And the solution to addressing these challenges for SMEs is by building system before expansion. Innovation as a leadership tool. Drucker 2007 explains that innovation is the specific instrument of entrepreneurship. And we introduced these templates or processes: the CBT examination, student portals, digital reporting, hybrid learning platform, and our media platforms to addressing common challenges in our organization. Now, in one view, this is what our GMYT leadership model is. From GMYT Fashion Academy, we moved on to GMYT Apartment and the Media Awards and now GA Elite Club. Each expansion solved a connected ecosystem challenges rather than pursuing random diversification. So from GMYT Fashion Academy, we had accommodation problems, and there was a need for us to, introduce the apartment. Then we went further again to, position ourselves. We needed visibility. We saw the need for visibility, and that was when we introduced the GMYT Media, and then GA Awards for collaborations and investors opportunity, and the GA Elite Club for community engagement. GMYT institution building model. The formula we adopted was first vision, execution, system, and ecosystem, and then finally the institutions. So GMYT Fashion Academy introduced our processes by skill development and entrepreneurship training. And then the systems that we've been using to manage all of this is, again, like I mentioned earlier, the SOPs, the CBT reporting system, and accountability structure. And then our ecosystem is inclusive of the GA Awards, GA Media, GA Elite Club. And then in one view, this is what makes the GMYT Group Limited a multi-platform ecosystem with sustainable impact. Now, everything that we do, we try as much as possible to ensure that we measure, we review, we reflect, and that is why we have this data where we have trained over 12,000 women and youth, empowered people, with over 500 machines, trained multiple women and also youth and annually, and also establish the GMYT group ecosystem where we champion institutional growth. And then GA Awards and GA Elite Magazine and the media platform is for recognition and also, community building. And then we have the international reach for student and partnership and sponsorship. Now, 5 lessons from building an institution. Number 1 is we try as much as possible to document everything. We build systems before expanding into the sub-companies that we have. Innovation must be the bedrock, to the companies that we scale into, which means for everything that we're doing is solving the interconnected problems that we have in our ecosystem. And then visibility must follow value, otherwise it becomes noise. Now, sustainability requires succession. Executive reflection, we ask this in our organizations from time to time. Can the organization function without me? Because at some point, the organization was heavily dependent on me. Is knowledge transferable or is restricted to some key staff? The key processes documented, and then are we building a business or institution? And this is what I would like us to also ask ourselves as business owners. And then for those that want to, implement processes in their organization, this is the formula that we use, and you can also adopt this. So document processes, build system, develop people, institutionalize innovation, and then measure impact. Key takeaways. So vision starts growth, system sustains growth, institutions create legacy, innovation drives relevance. Moving on. So what BSN taught me about institution building: system thinking as the way forward. Build effective operational structures. Integrating human capital into the ecosystem is necessary. Building a future-ready institutional mindset. And then this is why we have bettered the GMYT Group Limited today. So my leadership evolution in one view. Initially, like I mentioned earlier, the organization was heavily dependent on me, and then operations was chaotic because I couldn't really drive the vision because I was also very much into the operation processes. And then delegation was also difficult because I had the micromanaging abilities instead of, the capacity to delegate and also trust people to lead their department. And then a lot of knowledge trapped in individuals because we didn't have documented processes. But today we have SOPs, we have reporting systems, we have accountability structures through our smart tax sheet templates, we have digital platforms where we position ourselves, multiple businesses units, and then ecosystem-driven growth. So my final reflection is this: success build businesses, system build institution, but institutions create legacies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Princess. Very insightful. A lot of hard work in growing what you've grown. Can we now hand over to Chinelo to reflect on the presentation that Dr. Princess Oghene has just given us? The floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you, Princess, for that powerful and insightful presentation. I feel like the fact that you made use of real case scenario using your organization was really relatable and very insightful. So I'm sure that the audience already had a lot to take note of. And if I reflect the core of what you said this morning, there's a lot of emphasis on the fact that lasting change is not accidental. It is intentionally designed through systems, structures, and aligned behaviors. And then some of the things that you made mention of, or that you highlighted, was the idea that structure drives behavior. And that even with the right strategy, organizations often struggle because their structures, processes, or governance models are not aligned to the desired outcome. You also underscored the importance of innovation at the structural level, not just at a product or process level. This means rethinking how teams are organized, how decisions are made, because then it doesn't need to be just one person making those decisions, and how accountability flows across the organization. You connected structure to sustainability of impact. It was clearly articulated that short-term wins are easy to achieve, but without embedding change into systems, roles, and ways of working, those gains are often not sustained. Another key message I think is very important to mention was the need for leadership intentionality. Leaders must actively shape the environment in which people operate. So it includes clarity of rules, alignment of incentives, and consistency in decision-making frameworks. Finally, from everything the speaker has said, I'm highlighting that to have a successful change, it requires a holistic approach. So you need to combine strategy, structure, people, and culture, rather than just treating them as separate initiatives. If I might add one or two reflections from my own personal perspective, one would be that structure alone is not enough. Experience matters. So while structure is critical, the employee experience within that structure is equally important, because even the best designed systems can fail if people do not feel empowered, heard, or supported within them. So sustainable impact comes from both well-designed structures and human-centered leadership. The second one would be that change must be translated into everyday behaviors. So in many organizations, we design excellent frameworks, but the real test is, what does this look like on a Monday morning? For change to stick, it must be reflected in daily decisions, team interactions, and leadership behaviors, not just in strategy documents. So thank you very much again for that presentation, and thank you for the opportunity, Juanita.
Thank you so much, ladies. Princess, I think I'm going to start with the first question for you. It's amazing what you've achieved and what you've been able to establish, quite a legacy.
Thank
But
you.
I don't believe that came without challenges. Would you mind sharing with us what were the challenges that you ran into in establishing, not only from a business perspective, but also from a people perspective? What challenges did you encounter in establishing these companies?
There's several challenges. In fact, it was a lot. At some point, I almost lost the company because, again, like I mentioned, a lot of knowledge was trapped with people, right? Especially the people that I started with. And then it got to a point where I needed to scale after all the trainings that I have gotten, from different schools. But majority of the employees as at that time, because they founded the organization, like they grew with me, they knew when I started, they resisted change. They were not ready to grow with with the new knowledge that we have gotten. They were not ready to allow sustainability. They were not ready to, accept documentation processes. They were not ready to, there was just a lot. They wanted to remain with the same model that we started with, and that wasn't helping us. We were losing time, we were losing resources. It was just chaotic, right? And people just wanted to be the star in the organization, so there was no sharing of information at every point. And then so it was so bad that at some point they started holding the organization hostage. because I was scared that when they leave, we have to start afresh, or there would be like a gap, or, we will not be able to even survive their absence, right? So this resistance actually shook the company. But after the training, in fact, it was during the training with BSN, that we started implementing the SOPs and the processes that we have. We bettered the SMART goal, where we started identifying problems, identifying root causes of the problem, ensuring that responsible parties were accountable. In fact, at some point, we even had the processes, but enforcing them again was a problem because of these same people. Because if you enforce discipline, they will threaten to resign, right? So it was a lot, but I stood my ground and then decided to allow the system run itself. So the system was no longer dependent on me. I removed myself, and then I also aligned to the operations and the processes that, we bettered and introduced into the organization. And that just helped us, address the challenges, address the concerns. Eventually, some of them later aligned, the ones that were ready to learn, the ones that were ready to grow with me, but the ones that, had bad intentions eventually just, resigned. And again, I would say I thank God I did, because we wouldn't have been able to scale. Our processes wouldn't have been, seamless. We wouldn't have also, gotten the kind of team that we have now that is helping us, run the organization without the organization depending on me. So yeah, I faced a lot of challenges, but today, yeah, I mean, the difference is clear. Thank you very much. I hope I answered that question. Thank you.
No, you absolutely did, because we all know this. When going for something great, there's never growth. There's never a space where there's no growth pain. So one would expect that there would have been challenges. So the story that you've told about the growth is lovely, but it's also nice for the people to know what challenges did you go through. It's not all easy sailing. It's hard graft. It's hard work. You got to take the knocks as they come. I have a question here from Ruth. She says, a very amazing presentation, firstly. And she says, her question is, how are you able to cascade required change in an organization to the team? How did you do that?
So by communicating clarity, to the team, and also that's the ones that were ready to align to the processes that we introduce, making them understand that we will not have it better if we don't adopt SOPs. I mean, this is the only way forward, right? The organization, it was necessary for the organization to grow. And again, we were all stressed. We were all, overworking ourselves without result. Like, we were working really hard, sleepless night, time management was not even in the picture because we were working round the clock. But, introducing the SOPs and making those that were ready to align to the vision, and see how organizations that are doing it right are scaling, and how, they had, the privilege to balance life and work, the benefits that comes with it, so explaining it clearly and showing them, the blueprint, from start to finish, to say, if we introduce this, these are the benefits that comes with it. This is where we're going to be. You're going to have good pay. You're going to have more time to spend with your family and all of that, so clarifying that and then explaining it to them, and then also showing them, because there's another thing to just tell them to do something and not do it. I also aligned to the processes, to the system that we have bettered. I also aligned to it, so they see me do it, they see me live it, right? And then another thing again we did was also have a training culture. So there was a constant learning in the organization where we are, practicing it together. We're addressing challenges together. And again, I also gave them the power to lead, to make decisions, right? To also make their mistakes in the organization. So there is room for mistake as well. So what I did was, basically, I think I just introduce ownership mindset to them, so that they also run the organization with me. And I think that was what made it easy, so that they know that we're not trying to remove them from the job. We're actually trying to empower them such that we will all move forward. I think that was how I was able to do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Chinelo, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that whenever this conversation around change comes up, it's loaded. And from everything that Princess has said, it showed that the organization took the right decision and they held people accountable and they drove change the right way. I mean, there's always this challenge with people who grow with the business to almost feel like now I'm bigger than the owner. But it's important to realize that no one person is indispensable in an organization, and that change is required for every organization to grow, especially in this technological landscape. And so allowing that, and again, your business is thriving. When they left, the business didn't close, right? It didn't shut down. So that is testament to the fact that systems run the organization and not like don't make it depend on one person. So great job. And might I add that it's not as easy to drive change most times, which is why sometimes you have to face changes. You have to, sometimes it should be slowly introduced. Sometimes it could be fast. But leadership by personal example is at the core of change, is that the leaders are leading in the front and doing what they're asking other people to do.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Leandri Visser says, very inspirational. Thank you. Toyin says, in addition to SOPs, there's a need for knowledge sharing sessions to overcome staff concealing operational knowledge. Do you ladies agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's always important to share knowledge across teams, across organizations, because it also reduces silo working. You don't want silo working in your organization. You want teams to collaborate. That's how innovation thrives. That's how creativity thrives. So absolutely, it's something to drive, because once people start to think that one person outshines the team, they lose sight of the fact that you're just as strong as your weakest link in the team, and that we all win or lose together. So I absolutely agree with that comment.
I also agree, because when there's no seamless information, a lot of people will just naturally just introduce, some personal systems that is not in alignment with the organization. But when there's transparency and then their processes, it just makes, everything easy. Operations become seamless, and, everybody just aligns back to the organization. So I am very big on also, again, like I mentioned earlier, leading by example. So if I am doing it, then everybody have to do it. So the organization is bigger than me, regardless of me being the founder. So we all have to align to the system and processes at all times. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Henry asks, at what point did you give trust and how did you measure it?
When I saw that the lead team that stayed back to learn was willing to take corrections, right? Because we had the ones that were not trainable, and then we had the ones that were trainable. So once I saw the ones that were trainable, I held on to them to help me drive the vision. So again, I also saw that they were implementing the structure that we have and the processes. And then they were reporting, even though, it was a phase that we had to learn, they were reporting back to me. So because I saw all these changes and reactions and all of that, and I saw the trust, that it got to a point where they were also trusting me to lead, that was when I started handing over to them. So I saw ownership mindset. I saw that they were aligned to the vision. And again, when, unlike before, when they speak, they will say, oh, it's the management, or it's the management decision. It's not about us, it's whatever the management says. But when I started seeing team that would say, it's our decision, it's, our businesses, it's our processes. Sorry, you have to. So I just saw that, there were key teams that were aligned to the processes, and then they were really championing it. Once I saw that, I started handing over, and it's just made my life and their own life easier as well. That was when I handed over. Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And the more you allow them to own results and drive these things, the more they also trust management in return.
And also make their mistakes, right? So when they make the mistake as well, we bring it back to problem identification and, the challenges they face. And then I, work with them to address those challenges, and then now form it into an SOP so that we don't make those mistakes again. So currently we have a lot of blueprints, to processes, to even birthing other businesses. We have checklists. So it's just, again, teamwork is very important. I remembered when I was micromanaging, like I couldn't trust anybody to do anything for me, but allowing them make those mistakes, and again, just leading them and making them know that I trust them, has really helped the organization grow.
Yeah, it also gives you the ability and the space to be able to operate strategically, which is where you should be.
Yes,
because
I was heavy on operations, but now I'm just driving the vision, giving approvals, addressing and introducing strategic strategies, which is my role. And also I'm able to go out and get, sponsors, partners. So my role is now functional, unlike before that I was heavy on operations.
Yes, true. I have another question for you. Why do well-known organizations, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this, but you probably will have an opinion on it.
Okay.
Why do well-known organizations leave leadership to the founders' children, even though they have better experiences in staff who have proved beyond measure that they can run the organization better?
I think it's fear. I think it's fear. So people, especially, it's having, when you bet an organization, is like your child, right? It's like your child. So leaving people to run that, or handing that over to, people that are not family, is, I don't know, there's a feeling around it, there's a feeling that probably they won't care for the business as much as, they won't drive the vision as much as, but that is where system and processes again come to play, right? If the organization is dependent on you, then you will have those challenges of letting go. Right? But if the organization is dependent on system and processes, not dependent on even you as the founder, it's just easy to have experts come in to drive the business in alignment with, of course, the policies and the processes that you have. So I think it's fear. Again, it could be exposure, it could be experience. There's so many reasons why people do that, but the only way to address this, regardless, is system and processes. I mean, look at what is happening with SMEs, right? A lot of SMEs don't survive up to 5-10 years. But overseas, because they have structures and processes, you see 4th generation, 3rd generation, 5th generation, and then they're also able to have branches. They're also able to scale because it's dependent on, system processes and all of that, right? So a lot of organizations or a lot of founders have these challenges because everything is dependent on them. They are the ones driving the vision. They are the ones driving the processes. And then they also force their, their family or their kids to into the family business, call it the family business, and expecting them to do, to follow the same process. And sometimes those kids are not, or the family member are not even interested, but they just see it as an obligation so that the family name don't die. So to address this problem again, like I mentioned, is just ensuring that when you're building, you build right by introducing system and processes for sustainability, and that would also eventually help the organization scale, regardless of the founder. Thank you. I can't hear you. I think your mic is muted.
Chinelo, do you have an opinion on that? You muted now.
Oh, sorry. So yes, I was saying that I agree that families could also prepare their successors within the family. It's the same principle of succession planning in the business as it is for a family that wants to create a legacy around the family name. So it makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, but the only way that would be sustainable is if the family member is aligned to the system and the processes. So regardless of it being a family member or friends or whatever, right? I'm just a fan of, the organization being dependent on the system itself and not on people.
Yes. Then I have another question for you. The question is around financial sustainability. Financial sustainability. Most training and development initiatives are funded by government for a period of 1 year. How do you keep the organizational skills development programs in the absence of ongoing funding interventions?
Please state that again.
Most training and development initiatives are funded by government for a period of 1 year. How do you keep the organization or skills development programs in the absence of an ongoing funding intervention?
Okay, so remember, during my presentation, I made mention of the fact that the processes and formula we use is to, before we scale, is to ensure that there is a need for that before we even bet another business, right? So I mentioned when we had the GMYT Fashion Academy and we started attracting a lot of international students. So there was accommodation problem, right? So we introduced the GMYT apartment. Now, we all know that organizations, or as individuals or as founders, we should not depend on one stream of income. So whilst you are scaling or whilst you are trying to get other stream of income, it's necessary that is solving a need within the ecosystem, right? I have never been a fan of loans or government funding, right? I've never been a fan of it. I've never had any, all the impacts that we've made was never funded by government and all of that. And that is because of the platforms and the problem solving strategies that we always introduce into our organization. I give you another example. We've trained a lot of people for free, and then we have empowered a lot with sewing machines as well. How did we do that? For every student that pay tuition, we train one person for free. So you see that it's the organizations that we have, with what's it called, with the processes that to attract revenue and all of that, as a business is the same organization that drives whatever funding or expenses that we have to make eventually. So for the apartments that we also have, the visibility when it was time for media as well, it was necessary that the same organization, was was also channeling and funding that. So I have never been a fan of government or waiting for government to give me money and all of that. I just look at what problem can I solve, what value can I give, and then how do I convert that into bringing money into the organization. And then I put in strategies to ensure that we're able to track. And I think that's how we've been able to solve that problem, ensuring that, yes, we have different stream of income, but is driving, is solving problems and then also driving change within the ecosystem. That's how I was able to do that.
Thank you so much, Princess. Chinelo, you have something to add?
Yes, I wanted to also say that when it comes to training as well, I feel like organizations should actually also budget for them. So like the way you budget for every other thing that you do in the organization, you want to empower your people and you want to build their competencies and stuff. So you can also budget for it and not just depend on an external intervention so that your organization continues to be a learning one.
Thank you for that. We've come to the end of our time now this morning. It went so quickly. I think you've still got about 8 questions outstanding, but I don't want to hold people up from getting back to their work. Ladies, thank you very, very much for your contribution. Very insightful, Dr. Princess.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot. I think it takes a lot of energy to be able to scale the way you've done your businesses. Very clear indication of how you've done it, so that can help the entrepreneurs who are here today in having a look and doing a benchmarking. And I'm sure they could reach out to you also if they have any questions. So thank you very much for that. Chinelo, thank you very much for your deep reflection. Really appreciate it. We're also very insightful, makes for a very good topic. And it's always good to see businesses and legacies being built. But it's also nice to know that it wasn't all plain sailing. It's also nice to know that there were challenges and those challenges had to be overcome. So thank you very, very much, ladies. To everybody here today, thank you for attending the session. Thank you very much for making it so interactive for us and for so many questions that came. Glad to see you really enjoyed the topic. The topic for next week is staying valuable in an age of constant change. Value creation, thinking, key to the continued relevance. And our speaker is going to be Debe Adeyemkinwa, who's from Demake Inc. So I look forward to seeing you all next week again. And once again, thank you, ladies, for your contribution to the Impact Center and to Good Morning BSN. Very much appreciated.